Thank you. Good evening once again, all invited guests, Program Committee Chair Mr. S.R. Nair, past presidents Mr. A.K. Nair, Prasad K. Panikar, Rajmohan Nair, other past presidents whom I cannot see on the screen, Senior Vice President Nirmala Lilly, other MC members, members of KMA, other LMAs, students and invited guests. Welcome to this edition of the LeaderTalks session. I'm sure the attendance will build up by the time I finish my introductory address. Very difficult to plan anything in these uncertain times, the timings and the contents. Thanks to the online platforms, at least we have been pulling on, and KMA has been trying all options to keep our members engaged and provide them with meaningful deliberations and events of utility. Well, since we started our activities in the year of this year in November 2020, we have maintained a steady momentum and continuously tried to organize events of various character in a slew of programs week after week. We've had 8 Leader Talk lecture sessions till now with celebrated leaders from the industry and the academia, and this is the 9th one in the series. We also had the top executive, the Chief Secretary of Kerala coming in, and also had the Chairman of LIC, Mr. M.R. Kumar, addressing us during our inaugural session itself. Our KMA Women Managers Forum has organized 3 events till now, and the next from them is slated 2 days from now, that is on 18th March, that is on Thursday. Another feature of this year has been the StartCon sessions, an exclusively conceived panel discussion conceived by our program committee chair, Mr. S.R. Nair, showcasing successful startup entrepreneurs to the KMA fold. We have had 4 such sessions till now, featuring some of the smart brains of Kerala who have broken into the big league. With the last one in the series, when we had 2 lady startup icons, Ms. Sonia Mohandas of Wafer Chip Techno Solutions and Ms. Ganga Raj of I Love 9 Months, sharing their stories on International Women's Day, that was on March 8th. In addition to all these, there were 3 panel discussions with our own in-house experts and some of the industry stalwarts on topics of contemporary relevance. Last month, we have had a week-long intellectual feast in the form of the KMA Management Week celebrations, thanks to the chair, past President Rajmohan Nair. The KMA Virtual Run, the annual Students' Convention, and the Professor M.V. Piley Memorial Lecture done along with the Management Week celebrations, so unprecedented participation by our members. This event saw many distinguished speakers addressing us, starting with IMA President, Mr. Harshpati Singhania, Director General at IMA, Ms. Rekha Sethi, Professor Ranjan Banerjee of SP Jain Institute, Mumbai, Mr. D. Shivakumar of Aditya Birla Group, Mr. Ajay Prasad of Taurus Investment, leaders from multiple domains explaining the trends ahead for our student members, 3 of the startup heroes of our land sharing their success stories, of course, along with the speaker of the day, Dr. Saji Gopinath. Dr. Saji is the pride of KMA, as he is an integral part of our managing committee and adorns many hats here in this committee. He has made all of us proud by making Kerala literally a fertile soil for startups, while he was a CEO of the Kerala Startup Mission for over 3 years. Professor Saji, a testimony to your success there at the Startup Mission was here last week in the form of Ms. Sonia Mohandas, who shared with us her encounter with you, which turned out to be the real breakthrough in her startup story. I'm sure you must have had several such instances at the Startup Mission when you could mentor and guide many budding entrepreneurs to help them get on track. Now that you have a unique privilege of being the founder vice chancellor of the newly formed Kerala University of Digital Sciences Innovation Technology, which is conceived to facilitate and promote higher studies, research, incubation, and extension work in digital technologies and its application domains, it is indeed seen by all of us as another welcome scenario for our state of Kerala, which is now banking heavily on the presence of huge IT companies and technology-oriented service businesses here in Kerala. Though Dr. Saji has been addressing KMA on many occasions on various topics on management, this time in this Leader Talk session, we'll hear from him exclusively on the hopes and aspirations that all of us have from his baby, the new Kerala University of Digital Sciences. Though he is part and parcel of KMA as protocol demands, may I, on behalf of the Managing Committee at KMA and all present here, formally welcome Dr. Saji Gopinath to this edition of Leader Talk session today. I also extend my hearty welcome to all the past presidents present here, members of the Managing Committee and the Executive Committee, Senior Vice President, Honorary Secretary, members of KMA and other LMAs, student members, members of the media, and all invited guests to this lecture session, which is about to begin. So without further ado, let me invite our Program Committee Chair and past President, Mr. S.R. Nair, to formally introduce the session, the speaker, and also take us through the session, including the Q&A after the talk. Over to you, SR. Thank you.
Thank you, President Madhav. The President of KMA and Chairman of the session, Madhav Chandran, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. I would start by introducing Professor Saji Gopinath, and I will engage him. Something similar to what we have done with Ambassador Venu Rajamani, this would be a conversational mode of communication. So Professor Saji Gopinath is not doing any talk, he is answering to the question, and by the end of the session, we will definitely have questions. We will have questions taken from the audience as well. I would request the audience, while you are muted, but I would request the audience to frame your questions and put it on the chat mode so that I can identify you and I can ask the questions on your behalf. So let me introduce Professor Saji Gopinath, and then I will come to engaging. Professor Dr. Saji Gopinath is the first Vice Chancellor, it's a founder Vice Chancellor of newly formed Kerala University of Digital Sciences, Innovation and Technology. In short form, we call it Kerala Digital University. Before assuming this role in November 2020, Dr. Gopinath was heading the Kerala Startup Mission, otherwise we call it as KSUM, the apex body of the Kerala government for developing startup ecosystem in the state, and also was serving as the director of Indian Institute of Information Technology and Management Kerala, IITMK, a premier graduate academic and research institution in information technology. Under his leadership, Kerala has been awarded top performance of startup ecosystem in the state startup ranking conducted by the Government of India in 2018 as well as in 2019. Before joining the Government of Kerala in April 2017, Dr. Gopinath served IIM Kozhikode, IIMK we call it, for 17 years as Professor in Operations Management, Dean Development and Dean Academics. He was associated with IIMK since its inception in 1997 and played a vital role in making IIMK as one of the top 5 institutions in the country. He also served as the founder dean of School of Management at Bennett University, set up by the Times Group, that is a Bennett Coleman Group, during 2019 to 2009 to 2011, and also as the director of TAPI Management Institute, Manipal. A gold medalist in mechanical engineering from Kerala University, that is College of Engineering, Trivandrum, and with master's and postgraduate and PhD in management from Indian Institute of Sciences. Dr. Gopinath has a career spanning over 30 years in leading industry and academia. In between, he had worked in ONGC before he go for his higher studies, ONGC, L&T, etc. as well. He is a recipient of several national and international awards for his scholastic and professional achievements. He is a part of our managing council. He has been awarded by TIE as the best ecosystem builder. He has been awarded by KMS for the IT Technology Leadership Award, Management Leadership Award by CMA, and host of this thing, including the Government of India, who had awarded him for creating the best ecosystem in 2018 and 2019. I have no hesitation to say that actually Professor Saji Gopinath is the best thing that has happened to Kerala, particularly the Kerala startup and early ecosystem. And now he moves to take a higher responsibility to head Kerala Digital University, that is otherwise called as Kerala University for Digital Sciences, Innovation and Technology. So I would now start engaging him with the questions, and he would be answering that, and I would be taking your questions in the chat mode, and I also would be asking as we go along. Okay. Professor Dr. Saji Gopinath, great welcome to this meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, right. So okay, you're taking your spectacles off. Actually, I was thinking that has given you a much intellectual frame. Actually, good,
Okay,
nice.
I'll keep it back.
Whichever way you like it. Oh, good. Okay. Now, if we have to really speak about, no, you're a, we call it multi-dimensional personality. Okay. In Malayalam, we call it as what? Behinmuga Pratibha. Okay. You have been in academics, you have been in the industry, you have been in education management, and now today you had actually come to take a key role in taking Kerala Digital University to a global level. So we are all very, very happy about that. Okay. Now, the question we start is actually, if I look at it, Kerala Digital University in his earlier avatar was called the Triple ITMK. And if you know, many of the states have had its own triple ITMs, respected to the case. In place of K, the K is a variable. In place of K, it will be UP or MP or Andhra, etc., etc. And many of them continue to be in the same fashion, but then here somebody had that far-sightedness to understand the movement of technology as well as the growth of technology and the impact that it is making onto the people. Triple ITMK has been actually admitting graduate students, not undergraduate students, okay, and then going into very, very specifics of technology by itself. This is also in existence for close to about 20 years now. Yeah, it's about 20 years now, if I look at it correctly. Now, that's one side of it. Now, if you really look at it, Professor Gopinath, in the last 10 years, many of the universities in Kerala actually got bifurcated into multifarious universities. So the Agriculture University became three universities, if you know, Fisheries University, Veterinary Science University, Agriculture University. You have seen the establishment of Professor APJ Abdul Kalam as a technology university that actually looks after all the engineering colleges and institutions under it. You have the medical university, then you have the rest of the universities like Kerala University and Cochin University of Science and Technology, which is central universities and other things. Okay. Now, Kerala by itself have a plethora of this institution. So now the question somebody asks is, so why one more? Not just adding one more. But I'm very sure to add one more as a Kerala University for Digital Sciences, Innovation, Technology, there must be a logic, there must be a context behind it, and there must be a farsightedness, okay, behind it. Will you be able to highlight that aspect, that the making of Kerala Digital University, Professor Gopinath?
Thank you. Thank you. I think before I answer your question, let me thank KMA for giving this opportunity, because I think it's a great forum for us to bounce the idea of digital university, because it's still in the formation state, and I'm sure that we will have a lot of discussions and on this. So it's a great platform for giving this opportunity. Thank you for inviting me for this. It's always a pleasure to be with the friends and with such a vibrant body of intellectuals and professionals. Now, coming back to this question, this is a question a lot of people ask: why another university?
Yes.
Now, just to give you a background, if you look at universities in India and especially in Kerala, most of them are affiliating universities.
Yes.
There are exceptions, but there are affiliating universities. But that model is actually changing. If you look at globally, you are now moved away from this concept of affiliating, and you have started looking at multidisciplinary single campus. Maybe even they may have some constituent colleges like what Oxford and Cambridge have, but you don't have a university which primarily conducts only examinations or looking at colleges doing education. That thing is actually changing.
Yeah.
So we have this very large universities in Kerala, and some of them are doing extremely well, but there is a substantial amount of energy is being put in managing this affiliating colleging system. And if you know, as I'm sure many of us are familiar, that the new education policy also speaks about moving away from this affiliation system to the single campus, multifaceted university. So one of the key elements of digital universities are it's not an affiliating university. It is going to be a university which is focusing primarily on a single campus and which primarily looking at development of talent in the digital world as such. But that's only on an operational part. But more importantly, from a philosophical point of view, and that is basically where the triple ITMK, right? You're right when you said that the triple ITMK happened 20 years back, and that is a time when few triple ITs have happened in the country. 3 of them have happened by Government of India in Allahabad, Gwalior, and in Kanjipuram. And 3 or 4 others happened with the states, one in Hyderabad, one in Trivandrum by state government of Kerala, and then one in Karnataka, Bangalore by Karnataka government, and one in Pune by Maharashtra government. So all these were primarily looking at technology part of, primarily on the technology part, like looking at how do you create talent to look at the boom which is happening in the information technology at multiple levels. And most of them are actually looked at a higher level, including IIIT. So basically not at a programming level, but trying to create a talent which can actually create higher levels as such. But then 2 aspects which are relevant in the Kerala context. One is that since we were in an affiliating system, there were challenges that an institution can grow. So there is a limit to that. We were only able to offer MSc programs that were very limited for want of many reasons. But more importantly, in the last 20 years, the world has changed substantially.
Yes.
Now, today, we are not speaking about a world where information technology is a small subset. If we look at India, we have close to around 10% of our GDP coming from IT industry alone. But more than that, the IT actually has now permeated, the digital has permeated into almost all levels, which actually created substantial tectonic shifts in the society per se, social order per se. We know that social media is a big influencer in many aspects. I'm not speaking about the job aspects, but I'm also speaking about the way it actually influenced the way we interact with each other, the way even agitations are being held. Even the politics is being driven by the social media and digital world. And we have seen, you take almost every field, like take medicine, for example, a substantial amount of digital technologies come in that. Yes. Agriculture, substantial amount of digital has come in that. You look at media, a substantial transformation has happened in that. So the technology cannot actually remain as a technology realm, but it has to permeate into multiple levels. And we really require people who are talented in those domains to come out of it. That is a second aspect why this has taken. The third element, which I think is most important element for us, is that when you move from an industrial world, which actually looks at a method of education, and this is where I'm quite excited about this part, and I think I would like to hear the opinion of August audience here. If you look at, we have in the last 100 years or so, the education has actually transformed into a mass production model, where you are not really looking at individual capabilities, and you are giving a very vanilla-based education person.
Yes.
And there is a reason for that, because we have gone through a world where everything is mass-produced. So you have very large classes. In a large class where everybody is taught almost similar things. If a teacher is very good, then he or she may be able to identify a student. But in general, we have been taught similar things. We are evaluating in the similar way, and all those things which happen. Now, technology actually provides a very different tool to you. Yes. It actually allows you to look at individuals' learning paradigms, individuals' learning trajectory, and actually come out with very precision education per se. Now, this is something which Gurukulas used to do, yes. Right? I always used to joke saying that if the Mahabharata has happened in the mass production world, if Arjuna would have never been a great archer, or Bhima could never become a good, because both of them will be failing in the other exam. So they will never be in anywhere as such. Because Drona knew, because he was moving along with these kids, he knew that this guy has got this strength. So you train him in that. This guy has got this other strength. So train him in that. Now, this was possible in the Gurukula because you are basically looking at a very small number. Now, when we move to the mass production world, you are looking at a large scale. So you made the common thing. Now we are going to the third level, where you are saying that we can actually combine these. You can actually have a mass customization model in education, where individuals can actually be mapped through technology and provide very precision education. This is something which need to be looked at, and your new research models have to come out. You need to have tools to be come out, And that is an element which digital university will be looking at. The last element, after that I will look for your comments. The last element is that something which I mean, many of us are familiar with, but not been really taken too much of cognizant into, is that the digital world, unfortunately, is also about asymmetries. Even though it's the other way around, right? Digital should actually bring symmetries, but it's about asymmetries. This asymmetry of have and have not is at a very, very larger level.
Yes.
So much so that the digital wealth, if you take in the world, it is concentrated on few pockets in the world, maybe in a few companies in the world. Now just think about it. 10 common platforms which we use, Facebook, Google, Amazon, all of them, if you look at, almost all of them are coming either from US or from China.
Yep.
And all of them, so there is a substantial amount of a wealth disparity which is happening, which creates substantial amount of social disorders and sociological changes. So some elements which is still not been looked at in a digital world, which is studied very well in industrial world, is how is this sociological aspects are going to change? How is the economic aspects are going to change? So you have a different level of humanity movement happening as a part of it. So there is a need for somebody to do an in-depth study to come out with models, especially when we used to say that this next era is going to be for the country, or India, because India has got a good manpower and knowledge economy where the demographic dividends of the country can actually be encashed. That is a larger objective of this university. So these three things actually drive the university's vision to ensure that it helps, and I'll come later why this is relevant to Kerala in a bigger way, but to take it to the next leapfrog into the knowledge revolution per se.
Well narrated, well spoken, Professor Saji, as far as the logic behind or the context behind the setting up of the universities. But I want to take a little cynical view, but I'm acting as a devil's advocate, so forgive me for that. Don't shoot the messenger. Is that the quality of education over the years across the country, particularly across Kerala, has actually dropped drastically, and we have seen very high level of politicization that has also come into it. Okay, I do not want to go into that, but when we understand that, okay, there are reasons for the quality of education that is going down, particularly in the affiliating universities and the colleges attached to that. And today, I really do not know, barring some few institutions like IIT, IIM, Central University, KUSAT, to some extent KUSAT, etc. It has not been producing that level of excellence in research or excellence in discovery or excellence in innovations, etc. If you really look at it, Kerala University, for example, you are now sitting in Trivandrum. Kerala University is where the Maharaja had asked Einstein to come and be the VC. A position that you adorn in Central University. I mean, really, we are happy that you're sitting in there. So I could even equate you with Einstein. I mean, not to worry. But that's a way. That was a foresight that the king at that time has shown in terms of what you call the Saraswati Vidyalayam, the university, what it is to actually come up. But we have lost a lot of ground there over the last 20-30 years. So if I'm forced to ask you cynically, will this be another university? Will there be another university, or will we be able to take it forward with the vision that you have actually displayed? Forgive me for asking this, but I would like to get a reassurance. The audience also would like to know, because over the last 4-5 years, some of those universities that has come up, many of them are actually not doing well or loitering, particularly from the Kerala government side of it. Actually. Yes.
I think it's a very valid question, and I think this actually is it's a probing question, not only for me, but I think for all of us, because we need to ask this question: why this excellence evades education system?
Yes.
Not only for Kerala, it's also for the country. We have maybe some examples which is counter to that. Maybe Ashoka University is one which has come in the recent, maybe last 20 years or 15 years, which has actually made this break. But in general, we need to ask this question: why? Is it because people are not there? Is it because leadership is not there? Is it because students are not there? The answer is, I mean, to me at least, as a person who was working in education for so many years,
yes.
My reaction to that is, it is not of these things. Many times it is a system which actually makes people to do that way, the way we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure how many of you are from education system in this audience, but I know that there are many people who are from industry,
yes.
and some of them are senior leaders. So to me, the education today is very similar to what industry was facing in 80s, end of 80s and early 90s, or even before 80s, 70s, 80s, and before the liberalization happened in the context of industry. You know that we had lot of potential for many of our industries to grow, but we were not allowed to do it because of so many laws and rules. Now, this same thing is what is happening in the context of education today.
Yes.
If you look at the number of regulations which is there, and you have a large chunk of regulations which don't allow institutions to perform to the level it want to do, and all these institutions which you spoke about as centers of excellence, be it IITs or IIMs or some of the central universities, they all are beyond these regulations.
Yeah.
And there is a self-regulated model. And good thing is that Government of India is now coming out with concepts saying that if you perform well, and especially if you have good NAC ranking or NIRF ranking, and if you are also shows your performance, then you are allowed to give much more freedom in your system design. Now, coming back to this, we are actually trying to ensure that the typical challenges which other universities face, to a large extent, we are trying to minimize it. I will not say that 100% I will be successful or we will be successful in that, but we are one of our short-term goal is to get good accreditation and a good NIRF ranking, which is challenging with a smaller university. But once you get that, we will be able to actually put many of these things which we are planning into practice. Now, I always used to say that if you look at industry organizations, we don't have too many names to speak about in the world, not in India, globally, which are more than, let's say, 100 years old or 200 years old. We don't remember. But the only institutions we remember more than 100 or 200 or 500 years old are only academic institutions, right?
Absolutely.
The university. So there is something very unique in academic systems which actually give the longevity for it, which allows them to have an excellence for years to continue. And that is something which we try to imbibe in digital university. And that is there are interesting systems, because this may be one of the organizational systems where there is no hierarchy, because academics, it is not that the senior a professor is actually superior to an assistant professor. No, not necessarily. Maybe age-wise, he or she may be superior, but if the work of an assistant professor is far better than an associate professor or a professor, he is respected more. So this sort of the hierarchical models are not there in the university. We are trying to break those aspects as such, and we used to say that there is a collegial system where you are being respected by your work rather than by the position. I always used to revere the work of Dr. Ravi Mathai, which some of you may be knowing. He was one of the early directors of IIM Ahmedabad.
Yes.
So he comes out with a very interesting management principle, is that the best way to make an academic institution excellence is that have positions where there is no power, but there is full of responsibility. So you don't have any authority, but you have responsibility. And I think that's a very interesting management principle. And we are trying to do that in the university. How far we'll be successful is a challenge, but that's a management principle we are trying to adopt.
Yeah, whatever Professor Ravi Mathai said is not to the liking of many people, but he had said the truth actually. And he had proven that, okay, when there is no power and there is responsibility, people have actually gone and done. And at one end, we see these IIMs and IITs actually, if you really look at it on a global scale as well, to get an admission to IIM and IIT versus getting admission to even Harvard and Stanford, actually, if you really look at it, it's so tough a proposition. And these institutions over the years are still maintaining their reputation very well said about it. Now, I wanted to take a cue from whatever you have said related to the industrial world and the engineering studies. But I think from Industry 2.0 and 3.0 onwards, we have started looking at everything from an industrial perspective, and the studies also had got converged into that fashion, isn't it?
Correct.
And to what extent our new educational policy will help us to come out of that, Professor?
If implemented properly, I think this education policy is actually a very, very good thing to happen for the country. Because if you look at the country was always looking at giving access and equity, which is very important in Indian context.
Yeah.
But the new education policy also speaks about a very important thing, which speaks about the autonomy of the learner.
Yeah.
So it speaks about a learner has got the flexibility to learn what he or she likes.
Yes.
Now, if you look at, I know that in India and in Kerala particularly, we never allow a student till recently, if the person does one subject, he is not allowed to learn something else. No, I am doing, let's say, a course in engineering, but I also love music.
Yes.
I cannot do a course along with music along with this. My university will actually debar me if I do that.
Yeah.
This is what happening till recently. Now it has been changed. Now, that is not the way the world lives, right? An individual is not a silo. The individual requires multiple things as such. So then what you used to say that, okay, if you really want that music, I will have a music teacher in engineering college. Why should that be? I should learn music from the best of the music college, right?
Yes.
So in digital university, we are actually allowing people, which is one change which we are doing. And again, these are all subject to the regulations which is prevailing in this country. That is what I said at the start. Some of them may not be easy to implement with the thing. Is that we say that the locus of control of a student is not necessarily to be 100% within the university. A student should be allowed to take course. Say, for example, there's a student who is doing a course in, let's say, artificial intelligence, and he wanted to do on cyber laws.
Yeah.
Now, he should take the cyber laws from the best university in the country or in the world. Yes. Why should I have a faculty of cyber laws inside digital university when I may have a great faculty in Nuance who may be delivering, and today with the technology, I can actually allow my student to do that, credit the course. So right. This model where you are allowing the real universality by ensuring that the best from the different part can come into the place, of course, with the limit. I mean, you cannot say that I will completely outsource it. That's not the point. Maybe 20%, 30% is allowed to take from the best in the world. No, you may be able to take from Stanford or Princeton or whichever university. You have some of these credit transfers, which is available today. We have MOOC and other courses which are available. So that is something which we will try to make it as.
But that's the system, the education system and the policies allow a student to study in Kerala digital universities and get a certain level of specialization done by, let's say, Stanford or Harvard, or this is the private. Sorry, are you permitted to undergo such level of changes?
See, we basically today the UGC allows you to a large extent. I mean, to allows you to actually do one more course. We have seen specifically from some of the very welcome changes are happening in the environment.
Yeah.
One is you are allowed to do an additional course if you want. Some of you may be familiar that recently IIT Madras has come out with a course on data analytics and engineering. Yes. Now, like you rightly point out, no, IITs are very choosy in getting people get in. No, it was always been a very. But on the other hand, this course allows a very large number of people to come in.
Okay.
With a condition that they should do another course somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it is a course which you do. You may do a course in, let's say, history in Maharaja's College. Along with that, you can do a course in IIT online. And with a very flexible model where you can stop with the certificate, you can stop with the diploma, you can stop with the degree. So this is one of the first important change which has happened in the country. The second change which is happening is that they are now come out with a concept. In fact, the paper of that is coming out recently called Academic Bank of Credits.
Yes.
So what a student need not have to necessarily do a course fully at one particular point of time. I can actually earn credits and put it in my academic bank, and I can actually encash it later when I do another course. So I am allowed to do this. I mean, there are conditions to this that is being framed, but that flexibility is actually being allowed. Now, all this, if you ask me, all these flexibilities are available with us today? The answer is no. But we are actually looking at all these elements when we are forming the course and curriculum for that, because we believe that at one end we used to speak about saying that our youth is our students are not good, they are not employable and all. At the other end, we also know that there are situations where these same kids actually perform excellently well. Now, I personally know that how the children from our engineering colleges came together along with people from across the world and worked day in and day out during the floods to create technology solutions to save people.
That is
The
right.
same children. Now that primarily shows that they have talent, they have the skills. The only thing is the environment many times actually force them to do only the exams. You're forcing them to do the examinations, and pass the examinations is one primary aim as such. So Digital University trying to break this this sort of a thinking. We are trying to look at different modes of evaluation. We are looking at and depending upon the level of courses, right? Again, you have teachers here knows that depending upon the level of the objective of a course, where we put it in a Bloom's taxonomy, we can actually use different evaluation methods as such. So such sort of a thing is something which we are trying to do, because I came from a system, most of my time I spent in IIM, where a student who does not attend the class cannot pass an examination, because even if you take last 10 years question papers and prepare for the exam, he will not be able to pass it. And I'm sure that you remember that you took a session or a course on entrepreneurship, and the student just knows the basics of entrepreneurship, will not pass. He should understand it in depth. That is an objective which we are trying to do it in the university. So this is the aspiration, and as I said, if we achieve our goal of getting into top tier ranking, we will be able to translate many of these into practice. And I think the entire world is actually, the external world is actually supporting to this. The changes are happening very positively. So we will actually try to.
What will be the mode of your education? Is it immersive, or is it online, or is it a hybrid in nature, Professor?
It is not a virtual university. So it's that's, I think, to me very clear. We are not a virtual university. Okay. We are actually looking at both immersive, as well as online. Online, again, these are all regulated. Again, you cannot just start an online program today unless you meet a particular level of criteria. And unfortunately, age is that criteria. Okay, so even if I wanted to do it today, I am allowed to run only after I get a NAC accreditation. If I have to get a NAC accreditation, I need to pass out two of my batches. So which means you cannot do it from a day one unless you are a university of eminence, which some of this Geo University and few others have got, which requires a huge amount of investment. That is not what the model which we are looking at. So we are trying to get into that league, and then we will be doing it. But again, one thing which we need to understand is that in the digital world, you require skills and knowledge. You cannot survive only with knowledge.
Yes.
No, you cannot. It is not an industrial world where the guy who drive and guy who does things are different. It's not so. The guy who is on the top and the guy who is on the top is the one who is actually doing his hands dirty also. So the skills and knowledge has to go hand in hand. So there is a substantial amount of skill-based training which is required in newer technologies. And we also know that the newer technologies are coming in a very fast pace.
Yes.
You cannot actually think about having an AI curriculum 20 years from now. By the time AI will go, something else will come. So you require something which has to come very fast. So we are actually coming out with a large number of such programs, and we have a experimentation done in blockchain technologies some time back called Kerala Blockchain Academy, just triple ITMK, which actually started looking at having blockchain training for different type of people. And we have several lawyers, several media personnel who have taken that. They are not technologists per se, but they actually found that this is very, very relevant. And today we have, in a matter of 2 years, we have trained more than around 6,000 people in that.
That's great. That's great.
And
blockchain academy,
blockchain academy. And it's considered today to be one of the best blockchain training or
learning
centers in the world, actually, because we have tie-up with some of the best institutions also. So that sort of a thing also will be a part of that, and that will be online. And this may not be coming under a degree or a diploma, but this is something about learning, because you know that now Google came out with the concept saying that we are going to come out with a very low cost very professional degree. So
Yeah,
when
Google
you have some,
University.
exactly. So such sort of things are actually in the offing. So we need to be cognizant of such fact.
I understand. Now, see, I have been reading a book called Range by Epstein, in which he had said about generalist and specialist.
Yes.
Now, in places like Kerala Digital University, etc., we are actually trying to create certain level of a specialization. At the same time, I understand from you that okay, we need to actually get a balanced, based on the learners' understanding and attitude. You like to learn many things together. So
Yes.
now, in specialization, there's a joke also. If they say specialization is where you try to learn more and more about less and less, and ultimately knowing everything about nothing. That's what we say about the specialization that we do. So in a world now, there is some level of a thinking that the world also need as many number of generalists as a specialist. Okay, so from a university perspective, Kerala Digital University perspective, where we are actually trying to go into research and graduate studies and postgraduate studies and doctoral studies and postdoctoral studies, etc. Are we actually trying to create a balanced outcome or here a specialized outcome on this, Professor?
Yeah, see, basically, you are right that we are now speaking about this specialist and journalist in a as a compartments, and
Yes.
but our thinking is that while the world requires a lot of specialists,
Yeah.
specialists with a generalistic outlook is very important.
Okay.
Because no, I know very deep of something, but that does not mean that I don't know about the larger picture.
Okay.
Which is what is missing in the past. So
Yeah.
I will do a particular program, but I don't have any idea about where it is going to get applied. So we are actually trying to break this. So every student, whether it is a PhD student, postdoc student, or whether it is a PG student, and later when we go for undergrad student, we are actually ensuring that all of them will undergo a training where they actually get this larger context in the beginning itself.
Okay.
So, for example, we have a program called DAYS, which is basically digital access for rural empowerment.
Oh.
So, where the people are actually going into the society and be with the society on a structured manner, like what Irma used to do in social
Anand, yes,
side.
yeah,
Anand
yeah.
used to do something similar to that. But the idea here is that you go and work with the society, well, not a very long period of time, but at least for a shorter period of time, understand the problems and see how technology can really be applied there.
Okay.
We speak about today, we speak about digital classes being delivered over internet and televisions, etc. But we need to study the effectiveness of that, right?
Absolutely.
Whether the last mile is actually very strong. In Kerala, it may be really good, but still we have seen the challenges of that. That's basically where the solutions have to come. Can we use technology to ensure that the productivity of agriculture is going to go up?
Yeah.
How do we actually ensure that the product which somebody produces in a particular level solution can really address to get a better market? So several such problems of digital transformation is required. No, we have seen big supermarkets going online. What happened to a Kirana store?
Yes.
Especially in the context of is that persons have been taken care of. We have a large number of artists, especially these temple artists and others, who have been disrupted by technology, by COVID. Can technology actually help them on that? So you have several number of social problems which are actually technology can actually be a solution to that. Unfortunately, when you speak about somebody who's doing a MSc computer science or MTech computer science in artificial intelligence who never been actually exposed to such problems.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And that is basically where I think the generalist portion comes into picture. Once I am sensitive to these larger needs, then I can deliver it only if I know in depth. So that trying to marry both of this, and then we have other larger courses like system thinking, and which is becoming a compulsory. A design thinking will become a compulsory. So some of these larger programs plus this immersion is something which we try to help people to get that generalist outlook, but at the same time have specialist skills, because that is what helps them to come out with good solutions and products and take it to the next level.
What are they? See, I understand the university's name is very explicit. It says digital sciences, innovation, and technology. So the area is very clearly defined. So what are the areas of focus to begin with, Professor? in digital sciences, innovation and technology? What are all the areas that you're actually initially concentrating to build up?
Okay, so we are basically, the university structure is that the innovation, entrepreneurship, intelligence, that is basically data related intelligence, and sustainability are going to be across the board, right? Every activity will have these elements. So, but the focus, the functional focus, when you look at, we are looking at to begin with, we are focusing it in five sort of aspects, but they are not watertight compartment. There will be, as I said, we are cognizant of the fact that one of the biggest challenge of current university systems in the country, and this is not told by me, but even articulated by the first line in the NDP itself, is that it's highly fragmented.
Yes,
and people may not, they don't work together as so. We try to forcefully break that and try to work together. But the five schools which we are starting on is, of course, is on the computing. That is computer science and engineering, which forms the basis of the digital technologies.
Yeah.
So that's the software part of it. Then you have a hardware part of it, which is the electronics and automation. So these two basically forms the infrastructure for the digital world. Then we are looking at the applications of this. So we have a school of informatics, which looks at the applications of this in various functional domains. So you have focus on agriculture. Here we are primarily looking at how do you apply this and use this to create talent who can actually create a digital transformation in these areas: agriculture, sports, health, and really multiple, even environmental. In fact, we have a very unique program on environmental analytics, ecological analytics. So that's sort of a set of analytics programs, with informatics programs. Then we have a school which focuses on application of digital in the sciences area. And today we know that this year's Nobel for medicine actually gone for gene editing. It is basically digital technology merging with medical technology.
It is.
Same way, you know that today materials are actually being online. You are discovering materials, but other side, you are also using computation to create materials. Now you have computational material science, the big area. You have computational biology, computational material science, drug design. These sort of areas where your digital move into physics, biology, natural sciences, chemistry, these sort of areas is by medical sciences. These sort of areas will come under the school of digital sciences. Then the other school which we are looking at is the impact of this in the larger society. That's basically where we have a digital humanities and liberal arts. That's a school which primarily looking at the impact on the larger aspects of the society, and also on some of the conventional domains like economics, sociology, journalism, philosophy, and many public policy, and those sort of aspects per se. Now, we also are being very cognizant of the fact that the newer world is also about a change from this large format, large industries to very small, independent industries. And like you rightly point out, if you look at in the recent past, the number of startups which has come, not in Kerala, but across the country or across the world. And these are all people who have got knowledge, and they created, maybe 10 years back or 15 years back, they should have actually joined a larger corporation. But today they create products in which larger corporations may integrate. So there's a substantial amount of innovation which is required when you look at the problems and the digital solutions per se. And that is an area where we will be focusing as a core theme across all these schools.
That's great to know. So I think there is a lot of interface between pure science as well as technology, innovation as well as application, and humanities and things like that. And I also understand the interface between the digital technology and the pure sciences. I have a person at home actually who is using a neurological studies. His subject itself is called computational neural sciences. So he's having a wet lab where he's cutting the brain and examining, and he's sitting in the computer and he's deciphering that and putting it to the computer. So I understand the interface between technology, digital sciences as well as the pure sciences. Now, my last question to you is about what are the measures that is taken, or what are the facilities that you're trying to build into, or what is the vision that you are going to have in terms of making Kerala Digital University globally competitive?
Okay, so we see one point which I missed earlier is that see, one of the key objective of university also to ensure that Kerala leads in the knowledge revolution.
Yes.
We believe that Kerala, I heard your one of your earlier interviews with Mr. Balagopal, where he very clearly articulated, how the high-tech industries in Kerala is actually doing so well in compared to the common belief that it is not there.
Yes.
And I think that's a very important point. And we believe that when you move to the knowledge economy, if they are properly skilled, we have a huge opportunity in front of us.
Okay.
And that Kerala can actually be a hub for global manpower. One of my colleagues used to speak about saying that till yesterday we were actually exporting manpower. Tomorrow onwards we will export only the work. We will sit in Kerala, but we will export the work for the world. And that is a huge opportunity. And in
part of the gig economy as budget. Well.
Yes, gig economy, precisely. In this year's budget, maybe perhaps it has not been noted that well, but this first time in the world, a social security measure has been brought in by a government for gig economies, gig economic workers. That's the idea, is that we will actually go in a big way in that. And digital university will play a very important role in that. But going further on that, we are also looking at connecting with the best universities in the world who work on similar areas on this. Say, for example, we already have a tie-up with University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign.
Okay.
And interestingly, we have a professor from Kerala who works in is engineer but works in medical area. And where he actually combines digital knowledge into the medical field, come out with a lot of innovation. So he was one who was helping us to tie up on that. So we already have MOU with Imperial College. We have some of the courses which is being offered as our faculty collaborate with some of the faculty in some other part of the world, like University of Cambridge. So some of the bigger universities we have first level of tie-up. We already know that MIT has a tie-up with Startup Mission, and Maker Village is incidentally with Digital University. Maker Village is actually being a part of the Digital University. So that is something which we are leveraging on. But we are also looking to bring faculty, Indians, as well as expatriate from different part of the world. Today, the technology allows you to do that very easily. To ensure that the students get the best of this. So our integration will be through courses, integration through experts, integration through joint research with the faculty. In fact, every school is setting up an international advisory board where they will have experts in this field from different part of the world as part of that, and an industry advisory board which links them to the industry. So these are two key elements which every school will have. So this is all in the building up phase. But we believe that by doing cutting-edge research, which is one of the key elements of our, I just saw a question about research universities and teaching universities. We actually position ourselves more as a research university.
Research university, yes.
Because as I said, if you want to get into the top league very fast, if you want to get a recognition globally very fast, our quality of publications and quality of intellectual output has to come out very, very important. So we are selecting faculty accordingly, with people with mostly with international experience and people who have good research output potential as a part of it. So those sort of elements are some things which we are trying to do it. But the biggest challenge, as I said, is that we cannot take. See, we have MG University now this year got into QS ranking. Maybe the first time Kerala University got into a global ranking person.
Yes.
And great work is being done by MG University on that. But we cannot wait so many years to get into that, right? We need to be very, very fast on that. Because the world is actually moving. And so you are also getting into a field where along with state universities, highly funded private universities, corporate universities are coming into picture. So if you really wanted to ensure that we attract the best talent, both in the students and the faculty, we need to actually create our footprint very fast in a very short period of time. That is a challenge. That is a challenge I think we have, and it's a big challenge. But I think with the support of people like you, well-wishers of the university, we hope that we would be able to do something very different.
All the best to that. I'm with you being there. We are very, very hopeful, and we are sure that it is going to come. So what I'll do now, that there have been some interactions that are happening. So I'll read out some of them, and as soon as get some very crispy answers from you, because we have almost come to about 50 minutes of our talk. Okay. So what it says, Lali asking is that being the head of the university, would you please share us what the university has planned to ensure its graduates possess the right graduate attributes required by Industry 4.0, so that they could play a proactive role in the emerging digital technology. We will take crispy answers from you, sir. We'll take this first.
I just wanted to make a point here, and I don't know whether to be very crisp. See, IIITMK has a very unique model, and that model we are also trying to imbibe.
Yes.
This is one university where it's not really funded by the government much.
Yeah.
Perhaps only around 40% of our expenditure comes from fees or from government grants.
Yes.
Remaining 60% is generated internally.
Yes.
And this continues. And why I've said this is the answer to this question, that how do you imbibe the graduate attributes? Only when they actually start working on the projects, live projects while they are studying.
Yes.
It's not just internship. So most of our faculty actually have consulting projects, externally funded research projects, which actually ensures that many of the softer aspects of graduate attributes, which many times are not, you cannot really do it through a curriculum, is actually being addressed. So they actually get a chance to work live projects while they are in the college or in the university.
Next question is from Balkrishnan, your good friend from Georgia. World Wealth Report claimed that India is second most unequal country in the world. India may face severe social upset due to this. We need a national level policy and practices to upskill and application of technology across the segments to partly address this disparity. Do you think DUK, the Digital University of Kerala, that's what I believe he meant, can make change in framing new standards of education for social cause and overall upliftment? What's your answer, sir?
Yeah, I fully agree with this point which Mr. Balakrishnan has raised. That in fact this is an issue which today we are not debating much, but I think in going further we will be debating much more on this aspect. Now we already have a skill policy which is available in the country, but unfortunately, or many times it is devoid. There's a demand and supply gap. What you train is not necessarily what is required in the demand. So that feedback loop is happening, but not to the extent it is happening. So we have already started, some of you knowing that we have created something called a Kerala Knowledge Economy Platform, which is primarily intended to link this gap passage. It's now done as Digital University is a part of it, not driven by us, driven by KDISC. Dr. Kma Abraham is actually driving that, but we are a very integral part of it.
Part of that, actually.
Yeah, but so we are trying to do a pilot. If it is successful, then we will actually scale up to a national level. So we are trying to see whether this sort of a model really will work.
Okay.
How it works.
This question is from Sivakumar. He is asking, do you think pandemic would give way to an era of rapid productivity and economic growth as more businesses are forced to adopt digital processes and technologies, remote working, automation, etc., that may pay off in the longer run?
Yes, very much. I think I believe that we have actually going into a world of digital transformation, and which actually enhances the efficiency, it enhances the reach. In fact, again in the budget, we have proposed, and Honorable Minister has actually announced it also, that, and it's actually housed that in Digital University. There's a digital transformation mission has been proposed. Now, in the coming government need to take it up. This is only a vote on account. So, but that model has been put because we believe that the pandemic actually created a equal opportunity.
Yes.
And whoever is going to run fast, everybody is now on a same line.
Yes.
Now, whoever runs fast can actually win the game. And technology can actually really make that impact. And we will actually be very keen to work with groups who are interested in that to see how technology can actually be helping to enable that.
Okay. Now, question. Sorry. Yeah, I think I look at this and chat. Yes, this question is Algiers Khalid is asking this question. He's a joint secretary. World over, there are teaching and research-based universities. Most of the innovation worldwide takes place in top universities that are research-based, which also funds the higher cost of education. Even COVID vaccine is a product of research of Oxford. Why prime focus of universities and institutions of excellence like IITs, IIMs, etc., in India is still teaching and not research-based, resulting in not qualifying for the global ranking. Will digital university focus on teaching or research? You have said the answer, but you can once again emphasize the answer.
Yeah, I already said that, and I think we will focus on research. You see, basically, I think one of the reasons why we were focusing on teaching is primarily because India had a very bad GER, gross enrollment ratio in higher education. I was part of a EdSil project to enhance this during the last yeah, right. And that time it was around 13% or something like that. Now it is, I think, gone up to around 26-27%. Now Kerala has got around 37%, and we are expecting to make it 75%, which means we are doubling it, right?
Yes.
So it's actually going to be a big change. There are questions on the computation of GER, but that is the reason why this number game was an important thing. Now we wanted to create large numbers sort of a thing. But at the same time, today people are started recognizing the need for doing impactful research.
Indeed.
That's I wanted to make it very clear that impactful research means the research which actually made an impact.
Okay.
Now, not of course, it's not only on a publication, but even made
in the lives of people and the society around us. That's what you mean.
That's correct. That's correct. And that is something which we are very keen on, and we are actually looking at people to be a part of us who can actually put on that aspect. And that's why we have this model where we have a set of faculty who will be really focusing on projects and impactful projects, which actually brings revenue to invest on the research, which will be a long-term return sort of a thing. So this is a model which we are looking at. Many of this today looks a little bit utopian, I know, because but then I think only if you dream,
right.
we will actually try to achieve somewhere, because
it's like aiming yours to go to the Mars to reach the moon, right? Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Correct.
The next question comes from Anthony Joseph is asking this question. Hello, Professor Saji. It was an excellent presentation, but I would like to know, where does this university stand when we compare the innovation in skill, knowledge, talent, technology, etc., beneficial to daily life of a common man? Whether we can be a role model to other universities in the world. What is your answer, sir?
If you ask the first question, where we stand to the common man, I'll say that very, very low. I mean, we have still not made big impact. Some of the things which we have done in the past, which helped people, one example could be that after the floods, floods, we actually devised a tool or mechanism which actually ensure that people who are affected by the flood actually get all the certificates they lost without going to multiple places.
I understand.
So it was actually one of the first experiments in maybe in the country itself, where you just go to a camp with nothing, with your fingerprint, if you have an Aadhaar, and then you get everything, even if it is not Aadhaar linked. That technology we have developed, which actually helped people. And I could have shown an interesting picture which came in Madhurabhumi of a very old man. He came with a lot of apprehensions in the camp, and his picture they have shown, 3 pictures. Person, very old man, maybe around 70, 80 years. He comes, his face was so dull because everything is lost. Then he was in the camp with a lot of apprehensions, and then he got all the certificates and all the thing, even to get his pension and other things. I'm very happy. So it's a very simple thing which a technology can help. But I believe that there is a huge amount of possibility to go further, because we know that the education institutions were the central for every transformation in the world.
Yes,
and
whether it be social or technological.
Yes, exactly. So especially I'm speaking about social transformation. The Pallikodams were the ones where every knowledge was. Pallikodams was very, very key for every society, every village.
Yes.
Somehow we lost out in between. We universities and education institutions become just a side of it.
Yes.
To some extent, we tried through the Nadakav model to reinvent the school models back. You know that the ties this year globally, these kids from the Nadakav school was able to go there. So,
Yes,
so the transformation has happened in education sector quite a well. I mean, at least in the school education sector, very well. We believe that universities can actually play a very important role in the higher education system. So while I would definitely aspire to be a role model to other universities of the world, but I will certainly say that we will try to do something which benefits the society as a whole. It's not just training 100 or 1,000 students. That's not necessarily the objective of a
It
university.
is not the certificates that you should. It's an impact that you're going
it's
to
a much
create.
bigger impact is what we need to aim at.
Last question, sir. Though there are many questions, I am not able to take all the questions, so I'm taking the last question. Okay, now this is George Paul of Zyme, Xavier Institute of Management Education, asking, sir, if there is one university anywhere in the world KDU can model itself on, which would that university be?
I would say to some extent Stanford, because of course it's a very well-funded university. We are much lower, but we see that what Stanford did to change the ecosystem.
Yes, it is.
It played a huge role on developing Silicon Valley. You have so many Nobel laureates coming from that. So it's happened much later than many other universities in US. So that is one university which we could definitely be looked at, because it is something which, from the point which we discussed some time back, it actually benefited the society in a larger manner. So that could be one which I could look at.
That's a great example. Professor Saji Gopinath, we have been talking for more than an hour actually, and time went by because we have been discussing many things which is very important, particularly something which actually is related to creating impact on the society and the community that we are part of actually. And I'm sure Kerala Digital University, with its programs and plans and different schools that you're actually going to manage, will be able to reach. And we are absolutely sure that you being there, it would happen, because we have seen that happening in many institutions as well. So this is not the first time that you have been doing. No, there have been many institutions that one has seen, we all seen, that where you had gone and succeeded. I wish you all the very best. And I would now like to hand over the whole proceedings to President Madhav. Madhav, all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Saji Gopinath and past President S.R. Nair for that conversation mode of session. It was indeed very lucid, the way in which Dr. Saji answered all the questions, rather explained the hopes and aspirations that we have on the new university which is heading. And as S.R. rightly said, we are all very sure the way in which you are so convinced and the conviction with which you spoke, you are going to make a mark there, and you are going to make all of us proud once again after the startup mission success. This is going to be yet another milestone for Kerala, because we are all looking forward to the digital platform and the digital world and the domain to actually make us something in the international arena. And definitely there's a research and the higher education platform which you're going to create on a different level will help us all in that domain, I'm sure. And thank you so much for spending your time here today and explaining to us so patiently about all those plans and processes you have trying to put in place. And we all hope that the new government also will have the same focus to give you more importance and give you more trust in your way forward, so that the venture which you have initiated will go the full mile and the full length as far as the objective is concerned. Thank you so much for being there. I'm sure our Honorary Secretary is going to propose a vote of thanks. But before that, let me just announce a couple of events which are coming up in the next few days. I mean, very back-to-back events which are coming up. The Kerala Management Association Women Managers Forum is organizing a speaker session on 18th March, that is 2 days from now, day after tomorrow. This is going to be a session to be delivered by Professor Vasanthi Srinivasan, a familiar face in KMA of IIM Bangalore, and she is going to dwell on a topic, continuous learning and staying agile. I'm sure being a very eloquent speaker, this will be a very useful session for all the members. It's on 18th March at 6 p.m. Organized by the Kerala Management Association's Women Managers Forum. Lecture by Professor Vasanthi Srinivasan. But the big event which is coming up on 22nd March, close on heels of the Kerala Digital University Vice Chancellor's talk, is going to be the Kma Digital Summit, which is on 22nd March where we discuss and deliberate on a very contemporary summit theme, New Paradigms Progressing Digitally. With the sudden transformations happening to the businesses and professions due to the changes ravaging the whole world in the recent past, technology and digitalization have taken the center stage as a catalyst for the evolutions and the related progress seen around. And we have a galaxy of eminent speakers addressing us at the summit on this relevant topic and theme, and they include Mr. Muhammad Safarullah, IAS, IT Secretary of the Government of Kerala, Mr. Mitesh Agarwal, Chief Technology Officer at Google India, Mr. Ajit Menon, CSO at Tata Consultancy Services, Mr. Rajiv Prakash of the Future Group, Mr. Tapan Raiguru, the new CEO of Kerala Startup Mission, Ms. Anuradha Shenoy of BPCL Kochi Refinery, Dr. Kunjaria Isaac of Zyme, and of course, Dr. Saji Gopinath, our own Vice Chancellor of the Kerala Digital University. So please stay tuned to our announcements and notices and be there on 18th and 22nd, of course, on the online platform of Zoom. We'll inform you. Look over for the WhatsApp and email messages. And before we end, let me invite our Honorary Secretary, Mr. Joman George, to propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, Joman.
Thank you. President Madhav Chandran, Program Committee Chair S.R. Nair, and Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Kerala Digital University and the speaker for this LeaderTalks edition, this edition of LeaderTalks, Professor Saji Gopinath, Managing Committee members, past presidents, and Kma members. It was another wonderful session on the LeaderTalks from Dr. Saji Gopinath, who's taken us through the hopes and aspirations of the newest initiative, which is the Digital University, as we briefly call it. And your focus replies is testimony that you're so involved and you've already taken deep roots in the new passion that you are engaged in. A few things were quite striking was about the multidisciplinary interface which you plan to have if a student of AA wants to have cyber laws or even music for that matter, using the best possibilities of technology, connecting him and enabling his aspirations to blossom is something which is revolutionary and absolutely different. That is what we are looking at. And one more thing, as I'm a chartered accountant, blockchain is something which is taking over. In fact, I'm holding this article, New Technology to Change Accounting and Auditing. Vivek is also on screen with us, so many other chartered accountants. So there is a fear that we are going to be extinct soon, though not fully. So we are also embracing new technologies. I would like to personally interact with you, as Vivek would also probably join me in guiding us how blockchain can revolutionize our field, which is again talking about multidisciplinary and learning, and that's where this could be really useful. And the specialist with the generalist outlook, again, very, very striking. Because specialists cannot be confined to that kind of vertical. So that was really nice. And of course, as Command and many of the participants also in their questions suggested, the social connect which is being attempted to the, we call them the techies, the new gen techies. They cannot move away from the roots, so bringing them back to the roots, all very well positioned, well-oriented initiatives. So congrats for conceiving that kind of a wonderful, I wouldn't call it a curriculum. I don't know how to call it, because it's most of the things are about off-curriculum things, which is very out of the box thinking, as the cliche goes. So thank you very much for sparing your valuable time, answering all those questions, relevant questions by SR, the program coordinator, and of course the participants. And as a president, we wish you all the very best, and KMA would like to really engage with you. And as you mentioned, if there is any way that the mutual expertise could be leveraged and synergized on, then we are fully game for that. So thank you on behalf of all of us here. Have a great evening, and thank you once again. And this, I'm sure, is the right precursor for the digital summit that's coming up soon. So thank you very much, Professor Saji Gopinath, every one of you. So stay safe. Good night. Bye.
Thank you so much, Secretary Joman George. We will club both the mementos of this session as well as the digital summit together and send it to Dr. Saji. You're used to our signature memento anyway. It's already made at KMA, but still, we will be sending it to you together.
I plan to come over there.
Yeah, that's what we will hand it over to you there. Thank you so much, sir, for being there, and look forward to hosting you on 22nd. But before that, 18th, we have the next session. So all of you, please tune in on 18th to listen to the session coming, Vasanthi Srinivasan is going to address us on 18th. So till then, stay safe.